Imagine you're just totally drowning in debt, right? Like your parents are constantly fighting about past due bills, the stress in your house is just suffocating, and incredibly, the only one making any sense of this whole financial ruin is a talking white Labrador Retriever.
Right. Which is quite the premise.
Yeah. Welcome to the deep dive, by the way. Today we're bringing you into this really unique exploration of a massive international publishing phenomenon. It's a 2-volume book series by Bodo Schafer, and it all starts with this book called A Dog Called Money.
And, on the surface, you're looking at what seems to be just a children's fairy tale. It follows this 12-year-old girl, Kira, and her rescue dog, Money. And yeah, the dog can casually speak.
Naturally.
Naturally, yeah. But our mission today is really to look past the talking animal, We want to uncover why this very specific children's story sparked just this absolute avalanche of letters from adults all over the world.
It really did.
We're going to extract these surprisingly simple, yet profoundly effective financial and really psychological principles hidden inside the narrative. Because these are the mechanics that can completely shortcut your path to financial literacy. And you get to entirely bypass the dread of, a dense economics textbook.
I love the sheer irony of learning high-level wealth management from a fictional dog. I mean, it's just great. But there's a real structural reason why this works so well for adults, isn't there? Because I know when I pick up a standard wealth management book, my defenses just go up immediately.
Oh, absolutely. Same here.
I just assume, well, I'm not smart enough, or I don't have enough starting capital, or honestly, I'm just going to be bored to tears.
Yeah, and you've just identified this concept of adult frames.
Okay, phrase.
Right, we build up these preconceptions, these deeply ingrained habits, and very real anxieties around our personal finance. So when an adult brain encounters traditional financial advice, it immediately starts searching for reasons why, that advice just won't apply to their specific situation.
Right. Oh, that works for billionaires, but not for me.
Exactly. But fairy tale format, it just disarms you. It completely bypasses those adult defenses. Because you're reading a story about a child and a dog, you lower your guard. And that actually allows the core fundamental truths of wealth creation to sink in. They take root without your ego getting in the way.
So let's get right into how the dog goes about this, because his very first lesson to Kira is, interestingly, not about opening a brokerage account or, downloading a budgeting app.
No, not at all.
Kira brings this dog home, he reveals he can talk, and he outright refuses to speak about anything other than finances. And he drops this incredible line, insisting that, while money isn't the most important thing in life, it becomes overwhelmingly important when you don't have it.
Which is such a striking truth. He recognizes that her parents are essentially suffocating. If you're deprived of oxygen, breathing is the only thing you can think about, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And Money, the dog, wants to save Kira from inheriting that exact same suffocation. But to do that, he doesn't hand her a spreadsheet. He forces her to figure out her emotional engine. He literally demands she write down 10 reasons why she wants to be rich.
Right, and then comes the really brutal part. He makes her cross out 7 of them.
Yeah, she has to slash the list.
She is forced to circle only her top 3 priorities. And for Kira, those end up being an exchange trip to the United States, buying a laptop, and helping pay off her parents' crippling debt.
And see, skipping this step is where most adults fail before they even begin.
Really? Just the list part?
Yeah, because if you have 10 financial priorities, you actually have 0 priorities.
Oh, wow.
Your focus is just too diffuse to generate any real momentum. So by forcing her to narrow it down to 3, the dog is establishing this rigid filter for all of her future decisions.
Okay, I follow the logic right up until the dog's next instruction. Because he tells Kira to make a dream album, literally cutting out photos of California laptops from magazines, and to create a physical dream savings jar for each goal.
Right, the visual aspect.
And I have to be honest, reading that, my own adult frames definitely kicked in. I was thinking, are we really just making a vision board right now? I stick some palm tree photos on a piece of cardboard, drop some pennies in a jar, and the universe magically manifests a fortune for me.
Yeah.
It felt incredibly woo-woo.
I get that. It does sound a bit like magic if you don't understand the neurology behind it.
Okay, so there's science here.
Yes, this practice is entirely grounded in cognitive psychology. Specifically, it's about the reticular activating system, or the RAS, in your brain.
The RAS.
Right. Because humans think in pictures, not in text. When you hear the word California, you don't visualize the letters spelling it out, do you?
No, I picture, the Golden Gate Bridge or a sunny beach.
Exactly. Or, it's like when you buy a red Honda and suddenly,
You see red Hondas literally everywhere on the highway.
yes, your brain is finally filtering for it.
Oh, okay, so that's the reticular activating system in action.
That's it. Every single second, your brain is bombarded with millions of bits of sensory data. And to prevent you from going completely insane, the RAS filters out almost everything. It only lets through what it deems important.
So by making the vision board.
By creating a highly visual dream album, you are programming your RAS. You're telling your subconscious mind that these specific goals are critical for your survival, and suddenly your brain starts spotting opportunities to earn money that were always there.
But my pessimistic mind had just completely filtered them out before.
Exactly.
Okay, so you aren't manifesting magic. You're just priming your biological hardware to see the world differently. I like that. But spotting an opportunity is completely useless if you don't actually do anything about it, right?
Right.
I mean, I can see an opportunity to start a business, but if I'm terrified of failing, I'm just going to stay on the couch.
Which brings up the next major concept we need to explore here, the confidence catalyst. Opportunities require the confidence to act. And the sources make it very clear that confidence isn't just some innate personality trait you're born with. It's a structure you have to build systematically.
And the dog's method for building this structure is something called a success diary.
Yes.
You basically have to sit down every single day and write down at least 5 successful things you did, no matter how ridiculously tiny they seem.
Yep, even the smallest wins.
And to prove why this is necessary, the dog tells Kira the story of this 8-year-old American boy named Daryl. Daryl decides he wants to make his own money, so he tries to sell soda on the street. But the problem is, he tries to do this in the dead of winter.
Not the best market research.
Right, nobody buys a thing except maybe out of pity. It is a total failure.
But following that failure, Daryl gets some advice from a wealthy businessman. And the advice is so elegant in its simplicity. He tells the boy to focus on what he knows, what he can do, and what he has.
Knowing, doing, having.
Right. And then use those 3 specific assets to solve problems for other people.
And for you, the listener, right now, this isn't just a cute story about a kid. It's really about asking yourself, what is the freezing morning problem in your own office? Or what is the freezing morning problem in your neighborhood?
Because that's what Daryl did.
Exactly. Daryl looks around and realizes his neighbors absolutely hate going out into the freezing cold morning to fetch their newspapers. He realizes he can walk, and he has a wagon. So he just starts delivering the papers directly to their doors for a small fee.
And it just snowballs from there.
It totally snowballs. He adds more neighbors, he hires other kids, he eventually expands into publishing, and he actually becomes a millionaire by the time he is 17.
Which is wild. But notice that Daryl's massive success did not come from some complex venture-backed business plan.
Right.
It originated from the confidence to act on a very simple observation using the tools he already had lying around. The success diary is the mechanism that prepares your brain to actually take that kind of action.
I was thinking about how this mechanism actually works in the brain. It's like confidence isn't just a mood, It's a legal case you build in your own head.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, because when a financial opportunity comes up, your brain acts as the jury, weighing the risk. If you haven't been writing down your daily wins, you have 0 evidence to present to that jury. You look at your past, and you really only remember the failures.
Human nature.
Right. But writing down 5 tiny wins a day, like I spoke up at a meeting, or I paid a bill on time, that is gathering irrefutable evidence. So when the big opportunity arrives, your inner jury looks at your success diary and rules in favor of taking the risk, because you have documented proof that you are capable.
And gathering that evidence leads directly to a vital rule for execution that the text emphasizes heavily, which is the 72-hour rule.
Ah, yes.
Once your inner jury gives you the green light and you decide to do something, you must take the first concrete step within 72 hours, because statistically, if you don't, you will likely never do it.
That one hit really close to home for me. I mean, think about the dopamine spike of having a brilliant new idea on a Friday night. You feel like you've already succeeded just by thinking of it.
Oh, totally. The planning high.
But then Monday morning rolls around, and the sudden grueling friction of actually having to execute the idea just hits you like a wall.
Because the momentum of intent decays incredibly fast. Your brain loves the dopamine of planning, but it absolutely hates the caloric expenditure of actually doing the work.
Right.
So if you let 72 hours pass, the adult frames we talked about earlier, the doubts, the exhaustion, the fear of judgment, they just creep back in and paralyze you. The only cure for that paralysis is immediate physical action to anchor the idea in reality.
Okay, so let's assume you've built your case, you've taken action within 72 hours, and the money actually starts coming in.
Right.
In this story, Kira starts earning cash by walking her neighbor's dogs. But here is where I usually fail in my own life. Well, if I take on a side hustle and make an extra $100, my brain immediately categorizes that as fun money. My instinct is to reward myself by immediately spending it on a nice dinner or a new pair of shoes. So how does the book stop her from just blowing it all?
This is where the sources introduce a wealthy mentor named Mr. Gold, and he teaches Kira one of the most foundational principles of wealth generation. He uses the classic fable of the Golden Goose, but he applies it brilliantly to personal finance.
Right, and we all know the basics of that fable. There's a farmer who has a goose that lays one solid gold egg a day,
Yeah.
but the farmer gets impatient, wants all the gold inside the goose immediately, cuts the bird open, and finds absolutely nothing.
He kills his source of wealth forever.
Exactly.
So Mr. Gold translates that fable into an unshakable financial law. The goose represents your capital. The golden eggs represent the interest that capital generates. If you spend all the money you earn, even if you think of it as just fun money, you are slaughtering your goose before it can ever lay an egg.
And this just completely upends the way we usually think about getting a paycheck.
It really does.
Most of us think the whole goal of earning money is to have money to spend. But Mr. Gold is teaching that the goal of earning money is to build a goose so incredibly large that you can eventually live entirely off the golden eggs, the interest, without ever having to touch the goose itself.
Precisely. And to prevent herself from slaughtering her own goose, Kira adopts a really rigid, non-negotiable formula for her dog walking income. It's the 5 for 40/10 split.
The 50-40-10 split. Let's break that down.
She puts a full 50% of everything she earns straight into her goose account. This is untouchable capital purely for investing. Then 40% goes into her dream jars for the laptop and the California trip, and she leaves only 10% for her daily discretionary spending.
Think about the alternative there, which is what almost every adult does.
We do the exact inverse.
We really do. We spend 90% or more of our income on rent, groceries, and fleeting desires. And maybe, if we're incredibly disciplined, we save 10% for our goose. By putting the goose first and allocating a massive 50% to it, you're ensuring that a massive portion of your labor is permanently converted into wealth that actually works for you.
But, we have to address the reality of adult obligations here.
Sure.
It is relatively easy for a 12-year-old living rent-free to save 50% of her income. But what happens when you are an adult suffocating under loans? Kira's parents are trapped. They're paying massive installments to the bank to clear their mortgage and consumer debt.
Yeah.
To address this, the dog gives Kira 4 rules for managing debt that aggressively challenge conventional wisdom.
And some of them are straightforward. Like rule 1 is to destroy your credit cards because plastic disconnects the psychological pain of payment from the pleasure of consumption.
Makes sense.
And rule 4 is to put a physical note in your wallet asking, is this really necessary? To interrupt the autopilot of impulse buying. It's rules 2 and 3 that made me literally stop reading.
I know. Those are the rules that cause the most friction for readers.
I mean, I have to stop you there because my chest literally gets tight just saying this out loud. Rule 2 says you should pay the minimum possible installment on your loans.
Yep.
And Rule 3 says, for consumer debt, you should save 50% of your leftover cash and use the other 50% to pay down the debt. Every financial advisor, my grandmother included, has preached the exact opposite my entire life.
Wow, absolutely.
If you have debt, you attack it with every spare dollar so you don't drown in interest. How can paying the minimum possibly be considered good advice?
Okay, so your grandmother's advice makes perfect mathematical sense in a spreadsheet, but it completely ignores human behavior and the brutal reality of cash flow. Let's walk through the cash flow trap as the book describes it. What actually happens when you pour every single spare cent you have into aggressively paying down a debt?
Well, you get the debt off your back faster.
You might, but while you are doing that, you've left yourself with absolutely zero cash liquidity. You have no emergency fund, so you're making the absolute maximum payments every month, feeling very responsible. And then suddenly, your car blows a tire, or your roof starts leaking.
Right.
Because you've drained your accounts to pay the bank, what is your only option?
Oh, wow. You have to pull out a credit card. You have to take out a completely new loan just to fix the car.
Exactly. You are trapped in a cycle. You're constantly borrowing to cover basic emergencies because your aggressive debt repayment left you broke. But the psychological toll is even worse. Imagine you spend 5 grueling years paying down debt with every spare cent. What is your total net worth on the day you finally become debt-free?
You are at exactly zero.
You're at zero. You have no debt, sure, but you also have no goose. You have lost 5 years of compound interest, and you have to start building wealth completely from scratch.
That is so depressing.
It is. The book argues that you must build your goose simultaneously while paying off debt. Even if you end up paying slightly more in interest to the bank over the long run, preserving your cash liquidity prevents you from taking on new debt during emergencies. And most importantly, it ensures that when the debt is finally gone, you already have a growing asset base.
That completely flips the script from purely mathematical to deeply psychological. It's about protecting your morale. Because working for half a decade just to reach the starting line is incredibly demoralizing.
Very much so.
Okay, so we're protecting our cash flow and building this goose. To make the goose actually grow, hiding it under a mattress or putting it in a standard bank account isn't going to cut it.
No. The text introduces this elderly woman named Mrs. Trump, who takes the children under her wing to teach them the realities of investing, specifically in the stock market and mutual funds. And she explicitly warns them that a standard bank savings account is a money-swallowing machine.
A money-swallowing machine. She calls it that because of the silent thief inflation. Because if your bank pays you 3% interest, but the cost of groceries and gas is going up by 3% a year, your money isn't actually growing. You were just treading water. To build real wealth, you have to outpace inflation.
And to help the kids grasp this without getting lost in financial jargon, Mrs. Trump teaches them the Rule of 72.
I love this rule.
It's a mental math shortcut that you can use immediately, and it has both a positive and a negative application.
Let's do the positive one first, which is about growing your money. You basically take the number 72 and divide it by your expected interest rate. And the result is the number of years it takes for your money to double.
Okay, so give me an example.
So if you invest in a mutual fund returning 12%, you divide 72 by 12, which gives you 6. That means your money doubles every 6 years without you lifting a finger.
Which is incredible. But the negative application is a pretty stark warning about inflation. You take 72 and divide it by the current inflation rate. So let's use 3% again. 72 divided by 3 is 24. That means in 24 years, your money will lose exactly half of its purchasing power. If you hide $10,000 under your mattress today, in 24 years, it will only buy $5,000 worth of goods.
Ouch. But stepping into the stock market is terrifying for a lot of people. In the narrative, the kids actually experience a 25% market crash. They panic. They just watch the value of their hard-earned money plummet. And as an adult, watching your retirement drop by a quarter makes you want to just smash the sell button and pull everything out.
Naturally. But Mrs. Trump counters that panic with one of the most comforting analogies in the text, which is the stock market winter. She explains that the economy operates in seasons, just like nature. A market crash is not the apocalypse. It is simply winter.
And you don't panic and sell your house for pennies just because it starts snowing outside.
Right.
You know perfectly well that spring is coming.
Exactly. If you internalize that it is just a season, the urge to panic sell vanishes. In fact, winter is the time when variable assets are essentially on sale. It's the time to buy more, provided you are strictly following the golden rule of investing. You only invest money that you can afford to leave alone for the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. If you don't need to withdraw the funds to pay rent tomorrow, the winter doesn't hurt you at all. You just wait for the thaw.
Exactly.
So you survive the winter, you build the wealth, and then you hit the exact problem Kira's mother warned about throughout the entire first book. Does this money actually make you a better person, or just an isolated, miserable, rich one?
Which is such a common fear.
Yeah, that is the emotional core that transitioning into the sequel really addresses. Kira's mother holds this very pervasive fear that amassing wealth fundamentally corrupts your character.
And Mrs. Trump offers a really profound philosophical counter to that. She explains that money in and of itself is entirely neutral. It possesses no moral compass. Money is simply a magnifying glass.
Oh, I see. So if you're a generous, kind person who cares about their community, having more money gives you the tangible resources to do more good. It magnifies your kindness.
Yes.
But if you're a selfish, bitter person, having millions of dollars simply amplifies those flaws and gives you more power to be cruel. The money didn't change who you were. It just revealed who you were on a much larger screen.
The sequel builds on this with a brilliant structural metaphor. It's called the donut and the white stone. Imagine a standard donut. The exterior, the sugary ring that you can see and hold, represents your visible wealth, your tangible assets, and your practical knowledge. It's the success that the rest of the world can see.
But a donut is defined just as much by the empty space in the middle. That donut hole represents your invisible inner character.
Right.
You can spend your entire life building a massive, incredibly wealthy exterior ring, but if the inside is completely empty, the entire structure is hollow and unfulfilling.
And to fill that hole, the narrative introduces the white stone, which symbolizes these essential invisible character traits, things like gratitude, humility, compassion, and reliability. It really reinforces the idea that you cannot ruthlessly pursue the outer ring of the donut while neglecting the center.
And to illustrate this, the text introduces the concept of a relationship bank account.
Yes, I love this part.
Me too, because it grounds the philosophy in daily action. Every single interaction you have with another human being is a transaction. Every time you actively listen to a friend or support a colleague or show unexpected kindness, you're making a deposit into that relationship account. But every time you break a promise, act selfishly, or snap at someone out of stress, you're making a withdrawal.
And if you make too many withdrawals without making deposits, that relationship goes bankrupt, regardless of how much money is in your actual checking account. The overarching lesson that bridges the financial and the personal is that you cannot truly build lasting, fulfilling wealth while simultaneously bankrupting your relationship accounts.
True wealth is the balance of the outer ring, the financial mechanics, and the inner whole, your character.
It is a masterful way to tie hard, mathematical financial rules back to the daily practice of being a good human being.
It really is. So, to recap the journey we've been on today, to shortcut your path to financial literacy, start by defining your top 3 desires so your brain's filter can actually spot the opportunities around you.
Build the evidence for your confidence by logging your daily successes.
Yes, and once you decide to move, use the 72-hour rule to bypass your brain's friction. Build your golden goose by adopting the 5 of 40-10 split.
And when managing debt, preserve your cash flow so a broken tire doesn't send you back to zero.
Exactly. Weather the financial winters with patience and never forget that money is just a magnifying glass.
It's an incredibly empowering framework. It takes the paralyzing dread out of personal finance and replaces it with actionable, character-driven steps that anyone can start today.
It really does. We've learned today that money isn't a magical fix for your soul, nor is it a corrupting poison. It's merely a magnifying glass for who you already are. So for you listening right now, as you start building your golden goose, logging your tiny daily successes, and watching your own wealth begin to grow, wait, no ellipses, and watching your own wealth begin to grow, what exactly is that money going to magnify in you?